Hello, everybody. Today in the Flywheel studio, I am joined by Scott Brinker. Hi, Scott.
Hey, great to be here with you.
Thank you for coming and being here with me. We are chatting today because you are going to grace us with your presence and all of your knowledge at the Digital Momentum Summit happening in Toronto on June 3rd. We've got you in conversation with Sarah Fatz from Sitefinity. The room and the spirit of the day is all about thought leadership and thinking about how businesses can advance their digital experiences. Now, that's a pretty kind of general topic, but it's a general topic that you know a lot about. I don't think we're going to be able to avoid talking a lot about AI. What does the landscape look like from your perspective these days? And what are B2B digital experience managers asking, thinking, and struggling with at the moment?
Yeah, well, there's a lot there. So I think first and foremost, it probably won't come as a surprise to people that the marketing technology landscape, that crazy thing with thousands and thousands of products, has actually been continuing to grow. It grew by a couple thousand last year. It's actually, we're just finishing up now. We're going to grow some more this year. And it's interesting because people always wonder about consolidation. Like, wait, I hear about companies getting acquired, certain companies go away, and that does happen. In fact, we're seeing some of these like older, Martech solutions, that get acquired and, consolidated. It's just that it's gotten the barriers to entry for people to create new products have just gotten so low. And some of the recent developments with like AI and AI coding have accelerated that even more. You hear talk about these things of like vibe coding. I'm not sure that's quite product ready, stuff, but it's like moving in this direction where, again, there's just a fluidity to the amount of software that is available out there. Now, I think for marketers and customer experience managers, you need a framework for like, okay, how do I rein in the
how do I rationalize this?
And a lot of this comes down to like, actually consolidating on a small number of very core platforms, like your core DXP platform that becomes sort of the center of gravity around which other things are being connected to. And then I think once you've got clarity on that center of gravity, as you start to experiment with some of these other more specialized and emerging tools, one of the criteria you're using in evaluating them is the degree to which they're actually going to plug in and integrate with your current systems. As far as like the sorts of things that people are doing with this, well, I mean, content production has been probably the most obvious case that people have leaned into. And, it's great. It's accelerating it. It's expanding what people can do. It's also creating some, what they call AI slop, where people are using the tools, but they're not creating good things with them. There's fun stuff that's happening on the customer engagement side. We've always had these like chatbots on websites, and let's be honest, most of them have kind of sucked. Because they were the way they were programmed and managed was very deterministic and role-based. And we're starting to see a new generation of those, particularly around customer service, are just both because the LLMs, the AI they're using, is actually good at managing a conversation better, but also because they can have those LLMs train or like access the data from all the knowledge bases, all the historical tickets. So that area is actually improving well. And then I think the third thing I would say is sort of on the back end, is, when we're trying to analyze what's happening as customers are engaging with us. Historically, a lot of marketers or a lot of frontline CX professionals, they were limited on how much data analysis they could personally do. They often had to make requests to like a data analyst, there's a data engineer that needed to get involved. And so it created friction in just like how much you could explore, what are the analytics of what's happening here? And you're starting to see more and more of these new Gen AI tools that are helping to translate the very human business requests, that the marketer or CX professional has, and then being able to map that to like, these are the SQL queries I need to do against this data to like serve it up to you. So I don't know. Those are three things I'm pretty excited about.
That's great. We've been really intentional about the name of this event, the Digital Momentum Summit. For a very long time, it's been all about digital transformation. And are you ready for your digital transformation? And here we are with a technology, AI, that's able to allow us to transform dramatically and faster than we've ever been able to do before. And so it's a huge opportunity. But my thesis and the conversations that we're having are that it's also very overwhelming and it's a bit discouraging. And we all want to be able to capitalize on these tools and what they can do for us. But we just spent a lot of money getting the platform that we have in place right now. So isn't there something that we can do to make incremental gains and get ROI for that tool set that we have in place?
Yeah.
So to get to turn this now into a question is, in the market, from your perspective and what you're seeing, are we now in a place where it still requires transformation and, oh boy, there's these new tools? Or is this about building momentum and unlocking ROI, using what we've got in place and perhaps augmenting it with some of these other elements that are coming up in the market?
Yeah. All right. So I'm going to do something really nerdy here. Is I want to sort of pretend I had a whiteboard here. I think there are basically two curves that exist. Okay. There's this curve of technological change. And that is more or less an exponential curve. All right. It goes back to the sort of Moore's law, computing doubling every couple years. We see it now with a lot of these AI capabilities. These models are actually advancing faster than Moore's law has been. And we just feel it in like so many things in our lives. Wow, things just moving so fast. How do you even keep up with this? And that's sort of that top line. The bottom line that I've sort of shaded in is why we'd call the speed by which organizations change. And if technology changes exponentially, we as people, we as organizations of people, we do not change exponentially. We, as a swag, I would say, we change more logarithmically. Change is really hard. And this thing you're putting your finger on, let's just be completely candid. Every single company on the planet is wrestling with this. Like if you're listening to this and you're thinking, boy, I feel really behind on all this. I have yet to come across anyone in years who's like, we are totally on top of this. We got it. Not a problem. So first of all, take a breath. It's not you. And then I think, as far as answering your question of like, okay, well, given that, there are really only two strategies that I think people can apply. And there's no silver bullet. There's no just easy way to like, oh, and here's how we match up. The two are, first of all, being very strategic about which of these changes to embrace. Because there's too many things changing all at once. And if you try and chase them all, you're not going to get anywhere with any of them, And so, if you're going to let's just say from a, customer experience perspective, if you're like, listen, we don't want to turn these things over to AI agents yet, but we believe there's a set of content here that we've been very effective with. Oh, we do believe we have a generation of our customers who would rather consume some of this content in video form rather than, text form. So, they're very inexpensive tools right now that you're like, oh, yeah, I can convert this into this sort of explainer video instead of having it be like a $10,000 production. It can basically be produced for a couple hours and like $20. And then I'm plugging those things into my existing infrastructure of like content delivery and content management. I'm not trying to change the whole engine. I'm just augmenting some of the existing things. And then the other thing is if being strategic about which changes to invest and like prioritizing. The second thing is actually developing agility, for like years, you go back 25 years, software developers, sort of got the whole agile software development movement going. About 15 years ago, marketers started to, pursue this idea of adapting that for agile marketing. And it was all about taking a very systematic approach to being, hey, we're in an environment where things change. We want to have an operating system where we can in smaller chunks, do things, test things, see what happens, make an adjustment, do the next thing. The term agile and agile management is kind of fallen by the wayside. Like, it had its moment, but I think at the end of the day, it really is those sorts of management principles, those sorts of operating system things that if you can be a little bit more, and you'll never be perfectly agile, you'll never be exponential agile, but if you can be more agile than your competitors, that's actually sufficient to be able to win.
It is. And I like the fact, I love that but because the way you mentioned it when you started this comment was, it does require sometimes, often, learning to be agile, learning to add agility into your process, your posture, the way that you tackle some of these things. There is low hanging fruit. There are some things you can do. AI is very good at producing content. It's getting noisy. And what excites me about it is the fact that marketing teams, digital content managers, digital experience managers put a lot of time and effort into that content production, that content plan, that content organization. That barrier has come down. The risk is that we spit it out too hastily and without editorial and review and thought. But it still rings true that our capacity to communicate, to say the words, to deliver the information has gone up. And now we get to take the bandwidth and the effort and energy that we put towards producing that content before and put it towards strategic alignment, put it towards extending the user experience. To your point earlier, it used to all be about top of funnel, front end, user experience. Well, now we get to go so much deeper with the entire user journey, and turn those customers into advocates. So I think that that's where I'm excited as opposed to overwhelmed, but it can be sort of a lot to juggle all those balls in here.
I think it's a great way to look at it.
Yeah. Scott, thank you very much. We're really looking forward to your presence in our room in June, and I look forward to hearing so much more about all this. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you. See you there.